floor, which is the floor below the fire. We come up here, there's a couple things the firefighter needs to do. First thing the standpipe wheel firefighter wants to do is make sure the valve is shut, especially in a wet system, just like a hydrant. Now that that's done, he's going to try and get that cap off. A lot of times in these standpipe systems we find that it's frozen, and that's the reason we carry an 18-inch aluminum pipe wrench. It's the only pipe wrench that will fit around a 2.5-inch thread. We use that, we set it, and we spin the cap right off. During this phase, one of the things that we want to do is identify whether or not this is a regular standpipe valve, i.e. class 1 or 3, or if there is a pressure reducing valve in place. If so, is it something that we can overcome? Next thing we're going to do is check for any debris in the standpipe. We don't want to use our fingers, use a chalk, use a tool, use something. We're then going to take a wire brush and scrub those threads. It's very important that we get a watertight seal on the standpipe, otherwise it's going to wreak havoc on our gauge. If needed, we're going to attach the elbow. The reason for the elbow is to take the kinks out of the 2.5-inch hose and get it going in a nice laminar flow. 2.5-inch hose is high volume, low pressure hose, so it is prone to kinking. We're going to get the elbow on here, and the next thing we're going to do is flush the system. We're going to flush the standpipe just like we would flush a hydrant. You have to remember, we flush a hydrant before every working fire, whether or not we go there once a week or once every 6 months. Same thing with the standpipe outlet. We don't know when the last time this was flowed, so we're going to flow water into the stairwell to make sure we get out any rust, scale, debris, what have you. We're then going to hook the most important part of our standpipe pack, and that's the inline gauge. It is paramount that we have an inline gauge in place off the standpipe. This is our discharge valve on our fire truck. All we've done is taken the fire truck and moved it 20 floors up, and we've got our discharge gauge. It's paramount. We get that in place, and we're good to go. We're ready to hook up our hose. Attack 2 is then going to shoulder the 2 sections of hose and head up to the fire floor. Okay, we've just concluded drop point 1 on the apartment stretch. We're heading up to the fire floor. All right, we are now on the fire floor. Notice how the firefighter chalks the door open. This is what we call drop point 2 on the apartment stretch. Now it's worth mentioning, we're not masked up, we have dry hose, we are on the fire floor. 2 indications of an apartment stretch have to be met to do this. Number 1 is a tenable hallway. We suggest a tenable hallway be defined as you do not need to mask up. You may have a light haze in the area, but it is tenable. The second thing we need to have that's paramount is that Fire TAC 1 has door control of the fire apartment. They've got door control of the front door of the house on our fire floor. So we've just ascended to the fire floor. We have drop point 2. Firefighter drops the second high-rise bundle, drops it on the floor, drop point 2. Our door is chalked. We're now going to proceed to the fire apartment. We proceed to our fire apartment, which is apartment 514. Again, we have a tenable hallway. We have door control by Fire TAC 1 at apartment 514. Drop point 3 in the apartment stretch is at the fire apartment door. What I'm going to do is go ahead and drop down my bundle. Now we showed you in the folding section, very important that you mark the middle of your hose line. And this is what this is for. It's a very quick reference ID point. I'm going to grab that and deploy the hose accordingly. Drop point 3. At this point, if you take a look, we have a tenable hallway. We have door control by Fire TAC 1. We have no kinks. All members are ready. We're ready to mask up and call the standpipe wheel firefighter for water. Go ahead and charge the line. This is a very easy, simple stretch. Again, 2 indications must be met. Tenable hallway, door control by Fire TAC 1. We stretch our hose dry to the fire apartment door, i.e. the front door of the house. We're just several floors up. Once we get here, the reason for doing the apartment stretch like this is once we start our advance, we now have 1 friction point. 1 point in the stretch where the hose is going to bind up is right here in this corner, minus any corners that we might encounter inside the fire apartment. That's the beauty of the apartment stretch. One final point. Notice on the door. Take a look at your door and see which way the door swings. Notice that we have purposefully stretched our hose on the hinge side of the door. The reason we do that is once we advance through the fire apartment, the weight of the 2.5-inch hose is going to keep this door open. Had we stretched on this side, once our hose had gone around this friction point, that door is going to want to continue to close, and we have to chock it. This way, we've got the hose on the hinge side of the door. This door is going to open into a wall, and we're ready to quickly advance into the fire apartment with one friction point on the attack team. That is called the apartment stretch. We stretch our hose dry to the fire apartment. 3 drop points. Drop point 1 on the standpipe floor, which is the floor below the fire. Drop point 2 on the fire floor, just outside the stairwell door. Drop point 3 at the fire apartment door. We stretch it dry, we call for water. 2 indications must be met. A tenable hallway, which we suggest be defined as we do not need to mask up. And number 2, and more important, is that Fire Attack 1 has door control of the fire apartment. That's the apartment stretch. This is the stairwell stretch. Again, Fire Attack 1 has gone to the fire floor and decided that the doorway to the hallway has untenable conditions. We therefore have to stretch all of our hose in the stairwell, hence the name the stairwell stretch. We have 2 drop points in the stairwell stretch. On the standpipe floor in the hallway to give the crews and the fire attack officers a viewpoint of the layout. Drop point number 2 is on the fire floor in the stairwell. We then stretch our hose out, and of paramount importance, we suggest that Fire Attack 1 team up Fire Attack 2 and 3 to facilitate the manpower. The 2.5-inch hose line is a very heavy attack line to advance. We need more people on the line. Resist the urge to get into attack and backup procedures. Not to undermine the importance of the backup line, but we're going to have a multiple alarm company coming. Another suggestion for command is to realize I've got to use engines off the multiple alarm coming in to facilitate the backup line getting in place. Let's use Fire Attack 2 and 3, team them together, and get that first hose line in place and use the reach and the knockdown power of the 2.5 to get it in service as quickly as possible. Alright, we've proceeded up to the floor that we've indicated as the standpipe floor. The fire floor is 1 floor above us. As in the apartment stretch, we're going to proceed the same way. Drop point 1 is out here in the fire floor of the standpipe floor. As the standpipe firefighter prepares the standpipe, we're going to bring our hose out here onto the standpipe floor. Chock the door. Members assist each other with getting the hose off the air packs.
Ladder 18, that chainsaw, be good.
And get him in our direction of travel.
Reaching.
Again, one of the finer points, notice that the 2 straps on our female side are all pointing the same way, pointing towards our direction of travel. We're now going to unstrap our hose and hook it all together, just like we did in the stairwell stretch. Hooked together, we're prepared to make the stairwell stretch. This is drop point 1. We've dropped all of our hose. What we're going to do is proceed to our last drop point, which is drop point 2 in the stairwell stretch. We take one section of hose onto our shoulder, and we leave the rest. As we proceed with our one section, we're letting the hose feed out by itself. We are not pulling any excess hose into the stairwell. We're just relying on this one section. We proceed up to the fire floor. Now again, this is the stairwell stretch, drop point 2. I drop my hose right here. The stairwell stretch, what we're doing basically is Fire Attack 1 has decided, they've opened the door to the fire floor and decided that the hallway is untenable. We've got to mask up and have a charged hose line before we proceed through this door. Therefore, we have to charge all of our hose in the stairwell. Hence the reason we call it the stairwell.